What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our BKFC Reddit. Ask Me Anything. We're joined by the champion of the 185-pound division, Mr. Josh D-Day Dyer. How you doing, sir?
Hey, doing great tonight, man. It's always a pleasure to be on the podcast. How's everything going on your end of the woods?
You know what? It was a nice. You're a up north kind of guy. It was a nice weekend. And it started cooling down today. So
Yep, did the same thing here. Nice breeze. It's finally nice to be an outside painter. I'm like, hey, I enjoy this. Nice little breeze, 70. I'll take it.
okay, I saw you at the the Champion Summit. That looked like an awesome experience. I saw you were kind of going after Redneck Mundell a little bit, but you were really going after Mike Perry. Is that the fight that you actually want?
Yeah, ideally, I'd like to get Mike Perry. To me, Mundell's just a stepping stone. Like he's been done 7 title defenses. He's got the rankings. He's got the time in. In all reality, he does deserve the fight with Perry. But I'm trying to be the one that dethrones Perry. Like I want to be the guy that puts the loss on his record. I want to be the one that takes all his fans and shows everybody he can't fight. So yeah, that's the fight I want bad.
You just watched Mike Perry fight Jeremy Stevens. It was a tough fight, but was there anything that you're like, is there any way you lose to Mike Perry?
No, dude. There's no way to lose to Mike Perry. I mean, the guy is so slow. I mean, I'm proud of what he did for Bare Knuckle. Like Bare Knuckle would probably not be where we are now without him. I'll give him his credit. Thank you for what he did. But there's no way he can compete with me. I watched that fight with people that had never watched fighting before, and they looked at him and they're like, damn, he stands really straight up, doesn't he? And I'm like, yeah, he sure does. And they're like, yeah, he's really not that fast. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, he's kind of like a stick in the mud with those legs. He doesn't move much. And I'm a very mobile fighter. Like I'm on a bicycle out there just running around people. So there's no way. I would be surprised if he even touched me during that fight. So yeah, I'd be happy to snatch up that belt.
You have a fight that has a lot of bare knuckle, like hardcore fans excited. It's champion versus champion. BKFC doesn't like to give that to us very often. So it's champion versus champion. Are you surprised that it's out there in California and not on one? They seem to really be going hard with these international cards. Did you think it was international card worthy, or are you excited to be doing it out there in California?
To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the commission out in California. Like they are, God, they're annoying to deal with. You got to jump through like 1,000 hoops to get everything registered, and like the blood work and all now you got to go and take like all these neuro exams. I mean, it's like thousands of dollars extra. Like 5 times more money at least, maybe 10 times more money, just to qualify to be able to fight in their state. So it's not fun going there, and they're always like just digging for shit, trying to find one little piece of information they can use to strip your whole career away. So I've watched them destroy a lot of fighters, and I'm just like, California Commission, not excited to fight there, but I can't turn down the opportunity to be the pound for pound best. So I'm just gonna take it, go smash them, and then move on from there. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Dubai next year. Now I get my passport all approved and everything. Should be good in a couple weeks. And yeah, I'd love to go to Dubai. Consider moving there, depending on how everything goes while we're over there. And yeah, I think it'd be a great place to be.
It's interesting. We're seeing, like, you look at Camozzi. He's fighting over in Italy again. He said he loves it so much that he'd be fine if he just fought out the rest of his career over there because he likes it so much. You're a guy who wants to move to Dubai. So, I mean, maybe you become the king of Dubai.
Dude, I feel like I'd be the king anywhere I went. The 185-pound division, I mean, I went through it. Like I didn't start at the top. I didn't get to do some UFC transfer. I got brought in to lose against Jared Warren. Like I was supposed to lose to him. I was told he was a nobody. They left out that he was an amateur world kickboxing champion. Like they didn't tell me that. So when I went up there, I mean, I thought I sucked at fighting because of how hard I had to work to knock out Jared Warren. I was like, damn, that was a nobody, man. I probably shouldn't even be in this sport. And then everybody brought me over and like, nah, dude, that guy was actually a somebody. And he became a future world champion in bare knuckle, which, I destroyed him during that fight also, so I'm like, and then they gave me Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt, I mean, that was a freaking tough fight, I had to deal with some stuff in that one, followed by, the previous #1 contender, which was, not Dane Sayers. That was my first fight. Dakota Cochran, then I got Diesel Riggs, like all these dudes are like way the hell up there in skill level. Like I didn't catch an easy fight ever. And so I was like, yo, went out there and, Richmond was tough as hell.
Sure.
There was just, I feel like they're always trying to get rid of me. And so I'm just like, well, now that I know how they really feel, I'm just going to make sure I destroy all their ticket sellers.
I know your team. They've been messaging me that they're so excited that they get a fight Shift. They love going against Shift. And you
Uh-huh.
love going against Shift guy. Why is there such a rivalry there? And are you excited that you get to potentially, to stop another one of the Shift's up and coming guys?
Yeah, it's kind of fun taking their belts. Jared Warren, he kind of made it like he got me a little riled up a little bit. Nothing he did, right? It was just what he didn't do. That's all it was. Like I expected a rematch like immediately. Like I got robbed from a world championship. I knocked him out. The dude he was out. I know that was a legal punch. Everybody knows that was a legal punch. It is what it is, right? So like I just expected him to handle it like a man. You know, And obviously, if the fight had gone 30 more seconds before that had happened, I would have been awarded the victory because he couldn't continue. Right. So I was 30 seconds away from having the belt then. Then I felt like they were running a little bit. I'm cool with Shift now. Like I've worked out the differences, let him
Okay.
know kind of I was hyping it up a little bit. I just felt like Jared was, hiding the belt. That's how I felt. And even though it's not really his call, but like he didn't make it easier for me to come and fight him. I felt like he was running. And so, like they've done well. They had multiple world champions. They had Mundell, they had Warren, they had who else? Who's a girl? They got
Borga.
Borga. Yep. So the 3 world champions in one gym's not bad. So I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to like take all their belts just for fun, just to go and snatch them all. Unfortunately Borga, had hers taken. So, I'm not a chick, so I can't handle that. But, and I can't take Mundell's right now because he's coming up to 75. So really, this is just kind of like, yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the view, enjoy the spectacle, and the punishment for thinking that one of your guys was ready for me again. Like I called one thing I don't tell people is that after the first time I beat Jared, I literally told him how I won after the fight. I laid out my whole game plan, what I was looking for, how I slip and ripped his left all night long, and yeah, it was easy, it was easy, So, and then the second time I fought him, I mean, I laid out the whole framework of how I fought him last time. And I went and I did the same thing and beat him again. And I'm just like, guys, come on. Like, I literally gave you the answers to the test. Like, how did you not correct that and then handle it differently this time? And so I don't see a lot of evolution in their gym. Like Mundell's looked the same since the first time I seen him in bare knuckle. Like he doesn't look like he's evolved to me. I've watched all of his fights multiple times. He does the same thing every fight, and so I'm like, it's just too predictable. Like you can't be like that against someone like me. Like I watch film. I build anti styles for everybody I fight, and so that's why I look different every time I come out there. And so I'm like, it's easy, when you build a style for a specific fighter. It's hard when you do the same style every fight because eventually you get a bad matchup for your style. So you got to be fluid, like Mayweather says. You got to be able to change. You got to be able to, adapt. If your style isn't popping in round 1, you change some stuff and you come out in round 2. You can't just do the same freaking thing forever. Like, come on. Like, it's only a matter of time.
All right. So Austin sent in this question. He said, could you ask him about the advice his corner gave him round 4, his response, and how that translate into this training camp?
Oh shit. Yeah. So oh, okay. So round 4, when I was fighting Mike Richmond, I'm sorry, round 3, right? The break between 3 and 4. I came out there, I sat down, and I had expended a little bit of energy in round 3. I used a couple of big bursts that I'd been saving, and those take a lot of energy. And so I sat down and I let them, do their speech. They were talking to me. I was absorbing the info, catching some air, and then I was like, they're like, "Hey, we need you to go out there and just like, you need to bring it to him, man. You need to just go." And I was like, "Hey, just letting you know, I'm getting a little tired. Okay." I'm like, "It's round 4. I'm a little tired. We're like 5,000 altitude over here."
Right.
I'm like, I'm just letting you know that if that doesn't work, I might be screwed. So I've got a pretty good thing going with the sniping regime that I'm running over here. So I might just keep that. But that's what I was thinking. But Austin just looks at me. He's like, "You ain't fucking tired. You ain't tired. Get in there and do what we said." And I was just like, fuck, okay. And so I went in there and finished him, and I was just like, Yeah. So anyway, now that we started this next fight camp, and I'll be straight up, like Richmond's camp was like quadruple the workload that I've ever done for a fight. Like Austin almost killed me in that freaking training camp. Like
Right.
we had my strategist rolling through, like blocking my truck in, because after a while I'm like, dude, give me a fucking break. Like I gotta go. Like I can't. I don't live in this gym. I gotta go sometime. They'd be like not letting me leave. Like, come on, man, just like 6 more sets. I'm like, 6 more sets? 4 just killed me. I'm like,
Right.
what? So Richmond's camp was hard. But now that we go to start this camp, I was like thinking, I'm like, man, I hope my cardio can hold up. First day of the camp, Austin just freaking rips me apart. And then my manager Kevin calls me and he's just like, hey man, how's it going? I know yesterday you're telling me that the cardio might be a problem. And I was just like, not anymore. I'm like, Austin is making sure that that's not a problem. And Kevin just starts laughing his ass off. And he told me he like peed his pants. He's like, dude, I literally just peed my pants. He's like, I can only imagine what Austin is putting you through for this fucking fight because we know how important the last one was, but like this one is way more important. And he's like, I can't even imagine. He's like, I'm never going to give you guys advice on like strength conditioning again. Cause he used to call and be like, hey, you guys should try this. You should try this. He's like, after seeing what you guys do, he's like, I'm never giving you advice again. You just do what you do and that'll be good enough. But yeah, Austin is like, hey, we're going to have twice as much cardio as we had against Richmond. He's like, yeah, we ain't losing this one. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a shit camp, I guess. All right.
You're a guy who's always kind of bet on yourself. You didn't really seek out sponsors, but I hear now that you're the champ, some people are approaching you. Can you tell us about your new big sponsor you got?
Yeah, I picked up Daunt, clothing apparel. Like they are my biggest sponsor now. They reached out after my last win, and basically they're like, hey, we are we're a company that values people that have our values, which are grit, determination. We want to see people bust through. That's what everything about this is. It was a military gentleman that set everything up, and he's like, hey, like that's what we care about. It's like the grit, the hard work, just busting through, mental barriers, being tough. He's like, we don't waste our time with people that don't have those character traits. He's like, we go right for that, and then we sponsor them. And so they got me some awesome gear. We got it hanging up all in the gym, and it's great. It's comfy. I love it. I don't like a lot of like clothing brands. Like I don't even
Yeah.
like anything with sleeves, really. Like I'm a tank top guy. I grew up in South Georgia. I ran on the dirt roads, barefoot, no shirt, no shoes, and no problems. And I loved it. So now when I got to wear shirts in public, it freaking sucks because I got sensitive skin, man. So it don't matter what I put on. If it feels like anything, I hate wearing it. But yeah, their clothing is can't even tell you're wearing it. It's freaking perfect. Very thin, very comfy. So yeah, big fan of them. He's gonna be out at the fight. And yeah, we're gonna show off. I'm gonna be wearing his gear. It's gonna be a good time.
I love to see how many veterans love bare knuckle. It just goes hand in hand. Like the military people, they love a good fist fight, and bare knuckle seems to just do so well with all the veteran companies out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you imagine someone that has served, a couple tours or 30, in some pretty rough places. It takes a lot to get them entertained,
Sure.
because it's like when you've seen some real shit and then you come back over here and you watch some dudes play patty cake with some gloves on, it's not super like unexpected that they won't be entertained. You get some old schools, like we got a lot of veterans in bare knuckle. We got a lot of, Mike Richmond, the Marine, when you think of like the baddest dude on the planet and you go, oh yeah, he's a Marine. And then everybody goes, that's expected. Like
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I can roll with that. And we got a lot of those supporters, and they like it. They're a big fan of the sport. They like it. Like I was raised in the military. A military brat, Air Force ROTC myself. Dad's 30 years strong in the Air Force. I'm just like, hey, like, I get it. We built that strong mentality where you know you can always be better. Don't do something unless you're going to do it to the best of your ability, because your reputation's on the line. So when I do things, like I do them to the best of my ability. And if you do that, usually you just win. Like if you actually do something to the best of your ability, it's probably going to work out just fine for you. And that's what I've learned. You know, like everything I do, I try to do the best of my ability, and things pop off. You know, you get great recommendations from people in your business. You win fights, and you know, you do a good job with the family. You know, you just whatever you do, you just try to be the best at it. You know, so I compete with myself. I compete with everyone. You know, that's where I get that nature from. Like I want to be the best.
You seem incapable of putting on a boring fight, almost to the extent that like you go out of your way to like you just keep pushing the action when you could play it safe. Richmond, you could have definitely played it safe. You went in there, you went finish it. Why do you always like insist on putting on such a show and potentially putting yourself at risk?
Great question. I specifically made it my motto um, about 12 years ago that I would rather lose a fight than to win a boring fight. That's not who I am. I don't want to be another Ben Askren, you know, where you're 18-0 in the UFC and you're awesome as far as wrestling goes, but nobody likes watching you. Like
Right.
it literally sucks, you know. And so I'm just like, I don't want to be that guy. You know, I want to be someone where my people that enjoy bare knuckle, that enjoy combat sports, can can see my name come across the screen and go, "Holy shit, guys, we're going to have a great night. I promise you." Like Josh will never ever not get the finish. You know, this dude always finishes. Like for the last 12 years, 100% knockout ratio. He is committed to the win by finish. I don't trust referees. I don't trust judges. I don't trust anyone but myself. I'm not a team sport player. You know, like I don't rely on people making mistakes. I don't like playing football, you know, because your boy drops the ball, now you're pissed. You know,
Sure.
like I threw a perfect pass, you dropped it, now we lose because of your mistake. In my realm, I only lose if I make the mistake. I am responsible for everything that happens in that ring. I and because of that, I'm in control. Like I run that ring. So I will not allow myself to have a boring fight. It's not in my nature. It's against my code, my morals. You know, I promise people, things, and that's one of the reasons why I've skyrocketed in this sport. You know, there's not a lot of guys that always finish, that always entertain. You know, I want to be the reason why the sport blows up, and therefore why I get paid good money, why I get the superstar fights, why I get to call out Perry and eventually get him. Like, then I can call it Romero, and then I want to be the one that slams Jake Paul's face in the dirt. Like, I want that. You know, like I look at all these people that are like, man, bare knuckle is so badass. And then Mike Perry goes and gets beat by a YouTuber. And yes, we can all admit that Jake Paul is 100 times better than we give him credit for. But it
Sure.
doesn't change the fact that he started on Disney Channel. And it doesn't change the fact that everybody that knows nothing about fighting thinks he's just a YouTuber. So you can't lose to him and not have people still think that like bare knuckle is cool. If you're the baddest bare knuckle guy, you're the king of violence, you're undefeated in our sport, then you get your ass beat by Jake Paul, it makes our sport look like shit. Right. So I want to be the guy that bare knuckle can count on if they were to set something up like that, where they go, all right, Josh, we're gonna let you beat Jake Paul, we're inviting him over. But listen, dude, you can't fucking lose. Or we're
Right.
fucked. Like you're done. We're like you're gonna make a laughing stock out of us. Like I'm like, hey, you can count on me. Like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to I've never been knocked out in my life. You know, even getting smashed by Lorenzo fucking Hunt. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, if you can get punched 85 times in the face by Lorenzo Hunt and you're not knocked out, not a lot of men on this planet can do that in your weight
No.
division. So I'm like, it ain't going to be Jake. So I'll tell you that much.
Okay, so are you a guy who likes to watch your old fights?
Absolutely.
Okay, which
Absolutely.
fight is your favorite and how many times have you watched it?
Shit. Oh, my favorite fight is always the last fight that I've done. That's it, because it's
Okay.
fresh. I watched all of my fights probably 500 times each. So, and I watch them in slow motion. I watch them, watching me, watching him, watching what the ref was looking at, like what the crowd was saying and doing, and like who was cheering, like what punch made everybody go crazy. I watch everything. So now when I get into the ring again, I go, okay. So when I did that little switch left foot, right foot, like hopscotch hop before I fired a right hand, the whole crowd went crazy, right? And I
Sure.
didn't even land it. So what if I landed this time? People like seeing people step out of their stances and do some crazy shit. And oh, he's southpaw. I thought he was orthodox. Now he's both. Now he's in the middle. What the fuck? Like, I like being that guy, and to where it's entertaining all the time. Like, I want to be the dude also that's like, you punch me in the face, and you just know it's not going to put me down. It's not really going to hurt me, right? I like that. Like, people go, damn, dude. At the end of the day, if Josh feels like it, he could just march in there and fucking end this dude now at high risk. And it's not the
Right.
smartest thing, but he's always got it in his back pocket. Like, if shit's not popping, he's always got that. So I'm like, I'm trying to get some longevity in this sport. Like, I am the king of brawl. Like, if I have to brawl somebody, I'm probably gonna smash them. And but right now I love watching the Richmond fight, because I know who Richmond was. I took it from a world champion, a Marine, one of the most accurate fighters in the BKFC. He had a lot of things behind him. And so I was like, this is going to be great, and watching that just reminds me that I am who I say I am. Like, everybody says that they are who they are, but they don't always test it, and for me, that's what fighting is. It's like, I tell the world, I told everyone 5-6 years ago that I will be the world champion, and I said that, and I said it to the world, in front of millions. I said that, and now I'm here as a world champion. And then I told everyone, hey, I'm not going to stop here. Well, being a world champion is not good enough for me because I'm a competitor. Now I'm going for pound number one. And then it's like, now I want King of Island. So it's like, when you watch me, you're going to get an entertainer. Like, I'm not going to coast. I'm not going to be that John Jones that gets the fucking belt and then just boring fucking keeps dudes away from him, barely finishes guys for like the next 10 years. Like, yeah, you're the best. Cool. I would bet on you anytime, but you're still not fun to watch. So
Sure.
that's me. Like, I'm going to be the guy that's always fun.
You break down your fights like that. Do you break down your opponents like that also? Or is it one of those, like, you're so confident in your skill, you don't have to break down the other guy?
Fuck no, dude. I am so confident in my skills because of my ability to break down my opponents. When I showed up to fight Dakota Cochran, I pulled out a stack of paper that was about that thick of notes that I took on his style. I had written down every punch he threw, every second of that fight. I wrote down what his head did after he threw that punch. I wrote down which way he leaned before he fired that punch. I wrote down what percentage of the time he threw the right hand, what percentage of the time he threw the left hook, what percentage of the time he combined them, what percentage of the time he backed away. I had everything marked down to the T, to the percentage. And then I build an anti-style to that style. And I go, okay, at the end of the day, 70% of the time, he's going to throw a right hand left hook, 70% of the time. Okay. And then 40% of the time, he's going to come out there and he's going to fire a lead right and then duck and escape to the left. So I don't got to be faster than you. I just got to know where you're going to be. Right. So when he dips down, I know the right's coming, which means I know he's going to be ducking to the left in a second. So I got the right hook waiting. And then he's surprised as hell that he just got hit by one of the hardest shots ever, because I can confidently throw it because I know there's a 40% chance you're going to be there. So that's good enough for me, you know, and I know that my head isn't going to be hittable. So I'm going to throw with everything. And when Kevin, my manager, when he saw that stack of notes that I'd written down and he started skimming it, he looked up at me and he's like, holy shit. He's like, you're going to win. And I was like, I know. And that's what I do. So when I go out against these people, I know everything you're going to do. If you move your head like this, I already know 70% chance where you're about to be and what you're about to do. And you thought that head movement was a psych. You thought that was a setup for you. That was a setup for me. So yes, I am that guy. I am the NFL Patriots of bare knuckle, right?
Right.
I watch video better than anyone.
Well, and it's clearly paid off for you. You look dominant out there. Like you said, we keep talking about Mundell's a pound for pound. Like, a win over him, it's got to put you at least in the top five. Like, and if not, pretty close to the top.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I look at Mundell, and I'm not going to say that he's not tough, right? We all know he's tough.
Sure.
He's got great hits. He's got great. speed. He's got low center of gravity. He chases you in the exchanges. He's a finisher too, to a degree, you know. But he he's not competitive, you know, against me. You know, he doesn't have enough gifts to make him competitive against me. You know, my natural gifts, which is I'm going to be taller, longer, stronger, to a degree faster, but he's going to be faster as far as like footwork goes because of his center of gravity. I'll never be able to compete with that. He gets low. That makes sense. That's a drift car versus a drag. You know, I can't compete with that. But what I can do is know where he's going to be, you know? And so my gifts, just with, if I didn't know anything about fighting, the body that I built and like the length, the strength, and everything I'm bringing, just my brute strength alone is enough to beat him. Now you throw in the mind, the studying, the 15, 20 years of skill, you know, the speed, you know, like my fight IQ, you know, is up there. And I try to keep that a secret because I love people thinking I'm a dumb caveman, you know, because then they don't prepare for me. And then they look so surprised when I smack them that first time and they're like, shit, I got hit first, you know, and I see it in their eyes. And I'm just like, that's my favorite look ever. When I see that look in their eyes, when I pop them with a punch and then they look like they're like, holy shit, am I knocked out? No, I'm good. And then they realize it was just a jab and they're like, damn, this is going to be a long night. And I'm like, once I see that look, I turn it up, you know, because I already know it's easier to break somebody's willpower than it is to break their body. You know, people's bodies can take a lot of damage, but you break their willpower and they quit. And so that's what I do. I break people's will. People quit. I make people quit. You know, twice in a row, Jared Warren bowed at my feet, you know, on his hands and knees. He quit, you know, didn't have to do that. You know, I've watched men that could have stood up choose not to stand up.
Right.
You know, they could get up. Their body is fine. You can get up. They don't get up. I'm a mental crusher. You know, my nonstop aggression, the fact that if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back really hard in a short time frame right after that you land that punch because I don't want you building confidence. I don't want you getting a hit off and thinking, oh, maybe I can get another one off and feel good. No, I'm going to punish you really, really hard if you're able to get a punch off on me, really hard. And then you're going to get gun shy and think, fuck, why is it that every time I hit this dude, he gets mad and hits me harder right back? I don't even really want to hit him again, you
Right.
know? And then once they start thinking like that, then it's like, how do you win? How do you knock me out? You're gun shy now, right? You know what I do when you hit me. So it's like, you don't really want to hit me. So now when I drop you, you have an out. You don't want to get up because you're like, I don't really want to hit this guy anymore. You know, he doesn't drop. He doesn't look rocked. He just hits me harder. You know, so I scale it up. You know, I start out a little bit slow and then I just slowly ramp it up until they quit. Everybody's got a breaking point. And I set the aggression level to where they can't make it to round 5. And so it'll take a strong dude to beat me. You know, like there's guys out there, like, you know, there's always someone better. And I know that there's someone better out there. There is someone. But dude, the odds of him having all the skills and the mental toughness, you know, I'm tough, dude. I snap my nose. I break my nose. I'll snap it right back in the corner. You know, I've done that several
Right.
times. You know, if I break my hand, I'm gonna finish you with that hand, which is kind of weird, but I'll do that. You know, like you're gonna get hurt. Like the more I hurt, the more you're gonna get it. And it messes with people, you know, like I don't stop. And yeah, sorry, I can go on a rant with that, but I love that part, you know, because you get to see what people are made out of. You know, my punches don't a lot of the times knock people out cold. It just breaks their will. And they're like,
Right.
fuck this.
All right, Josh. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Do you have any message for the fans? Any shout out sponsors? Anything you want to get out there before we call it a night?
Well, I always got to shout out my trainer. You know, Austin Peterson is the reason I'm here. You know, like I was just telling him earlier today, I was like, hey, bro, I'm like, you're a really good friend, man. Like, I didn't have the funds to pay him what he was worth, you know, leading up to this point. You know, he invested in himself to get the skills to train me, and he invested in me while I was getting paid pennies all the way up until now. And he's the best trainer that a fighter could ever dream of. I mean, he is why I am here. That it's why I gave him the belt. You know, like I won the belt, I gave it to him. I was like, bro, you earned this shit, man. Like I could never have done this without you. You know, I was a 50-50 fighter before I met him. And now I'm a world champion, you know, and it all changed. You know, if you watch my first fight with uh why am I having Jared Warren. So remember my first fight with Jared Warren, what my body looked like, you know, relatively lean, little skinny, you know. And then you see me come out against Lorenzo Hunt. I come walking out and I look like I ate me.
Right.
And I'm just like stacked everywhere. That's because Austin's got a hold of my ass and was like, hey, we're going to work out for real and build some real power and real strength. He's like, we're going to build you a warship. And I was like, and that's the only reason I made it to round 5 with Lorenzo, because that dude was whooping my ass. Like, I can be straight about that. But the warship that I built is why I didn't get knocked out. And then I took all that strength that I built with him, and then I built my own brand new style right after that. That's why after Lorenzo, you know, I was no longer just standing in front of people. I was dancing around and moving and flowing, southpaw, orthodox, left, right, in, out, you know, pressure, movement, you know, fainting. All that came afterwards. And now I've just been running through people, you know. So Austin Peterson, bro, like you're the fucking man, dude. Like I couldn't have lived this dream without you. You know, you definitely haven't been rewarded yet for the amount of effort that you put into this, but promise you it's coming. You know, we're gonna go tune up Redneck. You know, we're making 3 times the money we've ever made in our lives for this one, and now we're gonna be looking at making double that for the next one. You know, so it's like now I get a chance to repay him for all the last 6 years. This guy's basically worked for free. You know,
Right.
sometimes 3 to 6 hours a day. Who does that?
No. Someone who
Nobody
loves the
does
game
that,
though, but he loves you and he loves the sport.
bro. That guy has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into me. So yeah, that's the guy that I got to give the shout out to.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. I don't know that I'll be in Cali. Austin's trying to convince me, like, come on, man, we need the 3 amigos. And I was like, we'll see. But I
Yeah,
appreciate
we
you.
rented out a
You're
whole tiki bar, bro. We got like a tiki bar resort freaking compound, bro. We got all locked down, man. We're gonna have security, and this thing, it looks like a city we just rented, bro. It looks like a city. Yeah,
I heard the
and it's
venue
just
is
one
fantastic.
compound.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have a blast.
Cool, man. All right, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Dyer, and have a good night with the rest of the kids. And you know, enjoy this. It's such an awesome ride, and I'm glad that we get to watch you on it.
Hey man, I'm just glad that I get to be a part of it, man. And you guys make it possible because I suck at social media, if you can't tell.
I've
I do
noticed,
more
yeah.
harm than good. But you
Right.
guys always, you know, reaching out and saying, hey, we'd like to get you on. You know, Austin reaching out to you guys and you being gracious enough to let me hop on. You know, like I'm grateful. You know, I hate the internet. So
I'm kidding.
you guys make it perfect for me. So thank you. You're helping my journey more than you guys could ever imagine.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Yep, my pleasure. Have a good night.
Bye.